Definitely.
Why is that?
He's the best at that weight. No one's going to beat him at that weight. He can go up to 47 and win a title. That's how good he is.
I'm going with Stevenson.
Why is that, Jack?
Because he's a hell of a boxer. He's bad. He reminds me of Shane. I met him when he was 6 or 7 years old. I met him.
Teofimo Lopez, don't run. Don't run. You ran from the Haney fight already, dude.
Only a few weeks left until Shakur versus Teofimo, and boxing pros are already making their predictions. Most of them are siding with Shakur and saying he's a dangerous fighter. And it's not just the boxing pros talking. Shakur himself sounds fully confident and locked in on what he's about to do. He stated, "I can't wait to beat this clown. I will be 100 times better on fight night against Teofimo than I was against William Zepeda. I will be faster, stronger, sharper, and on point." After a statement like that, you can feel the energy shift. He's not acting unsure or playing it safe. He's saying he's coming in improved and ready to show a different version of himself. It also tells you he thinks people are judging him too much off the last fight, and he's eager to change that story on a bigger stage. When a fighter talks this directly, it usually means they believe they found something in camp that's working, and the way he's listing those upgrades makes it sound like he's got a clear plan, not just confidence. Now it's less about who wins on paper and more about whether Teofimo can deal with a sharper, faster Shakur for the whole fight. Fight night will tell the truth. Shakur sounds sure of himself, but Teofimo isn't the type to sit back and let the story get written without him. As the fight gets closer, you can feel both sides pushing their own momentum, trying to set the tone before they even touch gloves. He stated, "We have to get through him first. We will beat him, and when it's all said and done, my hand will be raised once again." That's the kind of line that makes you pause, because it's calm, but it carries weight. Teofimo is basically saying he's not impressed by the noise, and he's focused on the result. It also feels like he's treating Shakur as a real obstacle, not just another name, like he knows this is a serious chess match. The confidence is there, but it's measured, like he's saving the real statement for the ring. And that's what adds suspense. Shakur is talking upgrades, while Teofimo is talking outcome. Two different mindsets, same target. Only one of them can be right when the lights hit. But not everyone is convinced that Teofimo can beat him, and that's where Jack Mosley's words really stand out. He talks about Shakur in a way that makes you understand why so many people see him as a serious problem, not just a slick boxer.
Is
Power
it
boxer.
basically boxer puncher
I
style?
coined that phrase, power boxer.
Yep.
Everybody used to say, "Oh, he's a puncher, he's a boxer." I said, "Shit, he's a power boxer." Combine the both. That's what I did.
What Mosley is pointing to is how great Shakur is as a complete fighter. He's not only smart and technical, but he can also sit down on his punches and hurt you when the moment is right. That combination makes him dangerous because you can't just focus on defense or speed. You have to respect the power too. Fighters usually get comfortable when they think someone can't really hurt them, and Shakur doesn't give you that comfort. If he's mixing sharp boxing with real power, it forces his opponent to second-guess every move. And in a high-level fight like this, hesitation can be the difference between winning rounds and getting caught. Meanwhile, Shane Mosley also weighed in on this fight and claimed he looks at it from a fighter's point of view, not just height.
I think Fimo might be a little bit more, Shakur might be a little bit more, quicker and a little taller, a little rangier, a little bit more smarter, maybe. But
It feels like he's leaning toward the idea that Shakur brings problems that are hard to solve on the fly. Those small edges, speed, reach, and ring IQ don't look huge at first, but they add up round after round. Teo can explode in moments, but Shakur's whole game is built to see those moments coming and take them away. And when you're forced to chase a guy who's always just out of reach, frustration starts creeping in. That's where suspense builds, because one rushed entry can turn into a clean counter, and suddenly the round is gone. By the later rounds, it can start to feel like you're fighting the clock and the opponent at the same time. If Teo can't adjust early, the fight could slowly slip out of his hands without one big dramatic moment. Now, the talk is turning to the vibe of the fight, not just the styles. Bruce Carrington looks at it like an event where Teofimo will feel the crowd and try to make a statement.
It's gonna be an interesting fight. Some fans think it's gonna be a boring fight and stuff like that. I don't think so. Tio is gonna bring the fight. He's gonna especially want to show up for the crowd and make it exciting. Excuse me, for the New York crowd. You know what I mean? He calls himself the King of New York and stuff like that. So even though my boy from Florida, but no, but if he the type of dude like he has adopted New York as his home. He called Brooklyn his home and stuff like that. You know what I'm saying? So, and a lot of people from
The point he's making is that Teo won't come to coast or play it safe. With a big New York crowd behind him, he'll want to look like the man in control from the first minute. That kind of pressure can turn into energy, and energy can turn into wild moments. It also means the pace might be higher than people expect, because Teo will try to win the crowd as much as he tries to win rounds. And when a fighter is performing in front of his city, he takes more risks to look dominant. The suspense is whether those risks create big highlights or create openings that Shakur can punish. After the hype, Bruce shifts into the real concern that decides fights at this level. It's not about talent. It's about what happens when Teo can't land clean and the minutes keep slipping away.
all jokes aside, though, I feel like Tio is gonna bring the fight. He's very athletic. He has a lot of explosiveness, and but I do feel like when it comes to Shakur, bro, his movement may frustrate him. The only thing that worries me when it comes to Teofimo is his frustration. Like, is he going to be able to work well with a mover? We've seen, difficulties that he had with Sandor Martin. We've seen the difficulties that he had with Jimmy Ortiz, guys that's been moving around and not staying still. Like, if you keep Tio moving around and he can't plant his feet, what can he do? We're going to have to find that out on, January 31st.
He's basically focusing on the mental battle that comes with chasing a mover. When the target keeps sliding away, you start reaching, forcing, and swinging at air. That's where mistakes happen, because you stop being patient and start trying to make something happen. And if Teo can't set his feet the way he likes, his best shots don't come out the same. This fight has a date on it, and once it starts, there's no pause button. Either you solve the puzzle or you fall behind. The thriller part is seeing whether Teo stays calm and builds pressure the right way, or whether Shakur makes him impatient and turns the fight into a trap. Then Bruce takes it one step deeper and starts separating Shakur from the other names people keep comparing him to. He makes it clear this isn't a same style, same result kind of matchup.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
We got to see what his mentality is going to be like come January 31st.
Do you think that his experience on the biggest of stages, his two biggest wins, he was an underdog. And those guys, ironically enough, were southpaws like Shakur. That play any factor to you, man?
Nah, styles is different. The styles are totally different. Lomachenko don't fight like Shakur. Josh Taylor don't fight like Shakur. Like I don't see, just because southpaw, that same thing will happen. I feel like certain techniques could be used to fight Shakur, yeah. But in terms of like that approach of the fight, nah. Like Shakur fights totally different. You gotta be able to do some out of pocket stuff with Shakur. You gotta throw while he's throwing. That's probably some of the only times that he's able to get hit. Only time he's open. So yeah. Other than that, bro, it's gonna be a pretty tough night for Teofimo Lopez, but I feel like it's still gonna be an exciting fight.
He's saying Shakur's style comes with different problems and different rules. You can't walk in with one basic plan and expect it to work the whole night. The window to touch Shakur is small, and you have to be sharp enough to catch it when it opens. That's why the fight feels tense, because one guy is built to stay safe and the other has to take smart risks to break that safety. If Teo waits too long, the rounds can quietly disappear. But if he forces it in the wrong moments, Shakur can make him pay with clean counters and control. Now the predictions get even more interesting because Buddy McGirt isn't talking like a fan. He's talking like a veteran who's seen real levels in boxing. And when someone like him picks a side, people listen a little closer.
It's going to be a good fight. I'm glad it's finally happening, a good fight in boxing where you got two very skilled fighters. And look, I love Teofimo. I picked him to beat Lomachenko. But I just think that Shakur's on another level. He can do whatever he can take control at any time when he wants to.
He's basically saying this matchup has quality on both sides, but the gap shows up in the small details. It's the kind of take that doesn't disrespect Teo, it just puts Shakur in a different bracket that makes the fight feel tense, because Teo is talented enough to change everything with one big moment, but Shakur is built to avoid giving you that moment. So the pressure quietly shifts onto Teo to prove he can touch him clean and do it consistently. If he can't, the rounds can start slipping without you even noticing until it's too late. And that's what makes it exciting. High skill, high stakes, and no easy path for either man. Then Buddy takes it back to the beginning, before the bright lights and the world titles. He talks about Shakur like he's been seeing this story coming for a long time.
Kid, I remember Shakur as a kid when he was an amateur. And I used to always tell him, kid, he's just special, man. He's special.
It hits different when a trainer says they noticed something early because it sounds like more than hype. It paints Shakur as someone who's had that rare gift even before he became a star. And when a fighter grows up with that kind of talent, they usually learn how to win in more than one way. That's where the suspense builds, because Teo isn't facing just a slick boxer. He's facing a guy who's been reading opponents for years. The fight starts to feel like a test of patience and timing as much as power. And once the bell rings, we'll find out if Teo can break that calm control or if Shakur makes it look like he's been ahead the whole time. Teddy Atlas looks at this fight in a more balanced way because he respects what both men bring to the table. Instead of picking a simple winner, he frames it like a real clash where one advantage can change everything.
Shakur's very athletic, very talented. So is Teofimo. He's more explosive with power, but Teofimo is very athletic. He is very talented. You got two athletic guys, two talented guys. Again, Teofimo I would favor with the power. This is going to be interesting.
He's basically setting the stage for a fight where talent cancels out talent, so the deciding factor becomes the weapon that lands cleaner. Teo's power and explosiveness make every exchange feel risky even if he's down on points. But Shakur's athleticism and control can make it hard for Teo to find the kind of shots that matter. That's where the suspense lives. One guy is trying to break into range and make it physical. The other is trying to keep it clean and controlled. If Teo touches him early, the whole mood of the fight shifts instantly. If Shakur stays sharp and avoids those moments, Teo might start pressing and taking chances. Either way, it feels like the kind of matchup that can flip in a single round. Mike Coppinger brings a reporter's angle to it, mixing the odds, the styles, and Teofimo's history of showing up when people doubt him. It's the kind of breakdown that makes the fight feel less predictable the more you think about it.
Favorite, 3.5 to 1 favorite right now about he's the one moving up in weight. And if you look at it stylistically, Shakur, right, he's the better boxer. We've seen Teo have problems with, fast and fleet boxers like Sandor Martin and Jermaine Ortiz. But then you think about sometimes when Teo rises to the occasion. I mean, the odds were closer in the Josh Taylor fight, but everyone was picking Josh Taylor that you spoke to in boxing. Yeah. And we saw what Teo did to Josh Taylor. We saw what Teo did to Lomachenko. And one of the things that I think that gets lost in that fight against Lomachenko is Teo threw more than 100 punches in the final round to make sure he won that.
He's basically laying out the two stories that can both be true at the same time. On paper, Shakur's boxing style looks like the cleaner path to winning rounds, especially if he keeps the pace controlled. But Teo has a habit of turning bad matchups into big nights when the pressure is highest. That's what makes this one feel tense, because even if Shakur is winning early, Teo is the type who can flip momentum with a sudden surge. And when a fighter has already proven he can empty the tank late to steal a fight, you can't relax against him. The suspense is whether Shakur can stay sharp for every minute, or whether Teo's big fight gear shows up again and forces chaos. One clean plan versus one explosive takeover. Fight night decides which story wins. Now you've got a viewpoint that matters, because Dalton Smith isn't guessing from the outside. He's been in the ring with Shakur in sparring. When someone who's felt the speed and timing up close calls it close, it makes you take the matchup more seriously.
Yeah, I think it's a great fight. Obviously, I've known Shakur from the amateur days. You know, I've sparred him over the years in Colorado when, you know, I was over there on training camps and stuff. So, you know, Shakur's a great fighter, so is Teo. You know, and I really think it is a 50-50 fight, but I think I'd have to favor Shakur in that one.
He's basically saying this isn't a fight you can predict easily because both guys bring real ability. But even with that respect for Teo, he still leans towards Shakur, and that says a lot. Sparring doesn't give you the full fight night story, but it does show you how hard a guy is to read and how clean he is in real time. And Shakur's style is exactly the type that can make an opponent feel like they're always half a step late. Dalton doesn't just talk about skill. He talks like someone who respects Shakur as a person and a pro, and that makes his pick feel even more honest. He's seen Shakur's journey from the amateur days to the big stage, and he's watched how that mindset carries over.
Like I said, you know, Shakur's always been a great fighter. Obviously, I've always held my own in any sports. You know what I mean? That's why I'm world level. But you know, Shakur is an unbelievable fighter. What he's achieved through the amateurs as a professional. You know, he's a good guy. You know, I remember seeing him after his last fight against Cepeda. You know, I was there. You know, I had a catch up, I had a picture and stuff with him. So Shakur's a good guy. You know, and I'm favoring him in the.
You can feel he's giving Shakur credit for the kind of career that isn't built by luck. It's the consistency, the discipline, and the way he keeps leveling up that stands out to other fighters. And when a world-class boxer says a guy is unbelievable, it's usually because the little things are different. Timing, calmness, and how he controls a round without forcing it. That's where the thrill builds, because Teo isn't facing someone who fades or panics under pressure. If Shakur starts early and gets comfortable, it can turn into a long night of trying to catch shadows. But if Teo can make it messy and physical, that's when the whole fight can swing in a heartbeat. And now the tone shifts completely, because Tim Broadley doesn't sugarcoat anything here. He comes at it from a place of frustration, calling for action instead of noise.
But damn, get in there and fight against Shakur Stevenson, bro. For real. You know what I'm saying? Stop playing. Stop playing around. Shakur ain't playing. No, Shakur ain't playing. No tune-ups coming up to see you in your weight, 5 pounds above 135. He can beat you. He knows how to beat you. That's what he believes in his heart, you know. Teo, you're talented. Yeah, you are, man. But damn, you talk too much and you don't back it up. That's the problem I have with you, you know. You can't be sitting here and trying to be the Ali of this generation, talking all this trash, and you don't step in there and you don't bag it up. That's the one thing that Ali did. He bagged it up. So all you trash talkers out there that keep talking trash, yeah, thinking you something, you gotta bag it up.
He's basically pushing the idea that talent only matters if you're willing to prove it against the best. All the talking, the hype, and the show don't mean much if the fight never fully delivers. That's where the tension builds, because this matchup isn't about tune-ups or excuses anymore. One guy is coming in confident and ready, and the other has to meet that energy head on. It feels like a moment where reputations are on the line, not just belts or rankings. When a fight reaches that point, there's no hiding behind words. Only what happens in the ring counts. And that's what makes this feel serious and unavoidable. Then Broadley flips the angle and starts looking at the bigger picture of what this fight could mean. He frames it as a real test, the kind that defines how great a fighter actually is.
Shakur Stevenson for stepping up and wanting to take on that task. I think it's one of those matches where you're sitting there and you're saying, how good is Shakur Stevenson? You know, how good is he? I hear a lot of people talking about him, but how good is he? You know, he's already accomplished or is a 3-division world champion already, 126, 130, 135. He has a chance to be, what, 4-division world champion already in his career? Man, I mean, look, I think it's a great opportunity, but the fight just has to happen. You know, style matchup, you got a defensive wizard versus I want to say, somewhat of a freak of nature.
This part adds suspense because it turns the spotlight fully onto Shakur. He's already done a lot, but this is about how far he can really go when the challenge is right in front of him. The matchup itself feels fascinating. Calm control on one side, raw physical danger on the other. That contrast is what keeps people hooked because styles like this don't give clear answers ahead of time. One clean adjustment, one sharp moment, and the whole fight can swing. And until they finally meet, that question hangs in the air. How does skill hold up when it's tested by pure intensity? Eddie Hearn comes at it from a promoter's eye, but you can tell he's also talking like a boxing fan who studies styles. He breaks it down in a way that makes Shakur's strengths feel real, not just hype.
Until fight, and do you think it happens?
I think I don't know how good the fight will be, but I think Shakur is, again, like pound for pound, IQ-wise, I think he's even up there with a Terence and those kind of guys, you know. I think the difference with Boots is he's got the defensive mastercraft and he also has the aggressive power to turn your lights out, and I think that's quite different. Do you know what I mean? Like Shakur, I say defensive, I think that's a bit harsh on Shakur, but he's not a huge puncher, but defensively and skill-wise, he's right up there.
He's a real technical fighter.
Oh, phenomenal.
Absolutely.
The difference with Boots is, skill-wise, he's got that, but he can also, like I said, he can turn your lights out, and you'll see that more and more as he goes up the division. So, like, you look at fighters like Pernell Whitaker and stuff like that, what they lacked was that little bit of power and that aggressiveness that I think Boots has. I think the jury's still out a little bit on Teofimo. I don't know what you guys think. I mean, you have to respect him because he beat Loma, you know, but...
He's basically painting Shakur as one of those rare fighters who wins with his brain as much as his hands. The way Shakur reads opponents, controls range, and makes small adjustments is what separates him from most guys. But he also brings up the scary trade-off in boxing. When you don't have that extra pop, you often have to be perfect for longer stretches. That adds suspense because it means Shakur's margin for error can be smaller if Teo finds a way to make it rough. He also leaves Teo in that we'll see category, like the talent is obvious but the consistency is still a question, and that's what keeps the fight interesting, because one sharp boxer is trying to run the whole night, while the other is trying to create one big moment. Then Hearn shifts the whole conversation to the one thing that can flip any technical breakdown: size. He makes it feel like the fight isn't only about skill, it's also about what happens when the bigger man starts leaning on you.
Who shows up?
Yeah, it always depends on what Teofimo shows up. I think Shakur beats him.
Yeah.
But the weight, again, right, don't forget, Teofimo's a big 140.
Yeah.
Shakur is probably a small 135. Right? Or, you know, not really a big 135.
Yeah.
Teofimo's talking about going to 147. So you have a big size disadvantage going into that fight. But someone like Shakur is only going to get beat when he moves up and loses his advantage necessarily against a much bigger and stronger guy.
Yeah. But do you
I think that's a fiddly fight, don't you? I mean, I don't expect it to be this firefight.
Yeah.
I think Teofimo's very awkward and Shakur's very smart, and I don't know.
He's basically saying Shakur can outthink a lot of people, but weight classes exist for a reason. When the other guy is naturally stronger and heavier, every clinch, every exchange, every bump starts costing more. That's where the thrill builds, because Shakur might be winning rounds clean, but one heavy moment can change the rhythm fast. And Teo's awkwardness is a factor too, because awkward fighters can break timing and force ugly positions. It starts to feel like a careful balance. Shakur has to stay sharp and safe, while Teo tries to make it physical and uncomfortable. If Shakur handles the size and still controls the fight, it says a lot about how special he really is. If he can't, that's exactly where the upset lives. This fight feels like a real clash of styles and personalities. Shakur is the cleaner boxer, the calmer guy, and the one most people trust to control rounds with his IQ and movement. Teofimo is the explosive wildcard, bigger, stronger, awkward at times, and capable of flipping a fight with one burst if he finds the timing. That's why the buildup is so intense. If Shakur stays sharp for every minute, he can win this with control and precision. But if Teo makes it physical, cuts the ring right, and lands something meaningful, the whole story can change fast. So what do you think? Does Shakur's boxing IQ and movement frustrate Teofimo and take him out of his game? Can Teo deal with a slick mover for a full fight without getting impatient? And how much does the size factor matter if Teofimo is the stronger man in there? Does that change the way Shakur fights? Let us know your thoughts in the comment section below. And don't forget to subscribe to the channel and tune in for more videos like